Hey, this is Scott, and this is the Preserving Wisdom podcast. We are on episode 8. In this episode, I will look back and reflect on my conversation that I recently had with a friend, Bill Stein. First, I just wanted to start by saying just how welcoming Bill and his wife Janice were when I went out to visit them. We just had such a great conversation, wonderful afternoon, and they fed me and we shared coffee and just had a really great conversation. Yeah, so some of my reflections, some of my takeaways. First of all, it was pretty cool to see just how big of a role sports played in Bill's life. So from the time he was a child, as early as he could remember, his parents showed an interest in him playing sports, and some of his fondest memories with his family and cousins and friends were playing sports as a child. Some of that reflection is just how important that can be for children, and sometimes it's teaching them things like teamwork and hard work and physical fitness and specific skill sets. And then other times, in Bill's case, it could lead to a lifelong career. So after Bill, well, first of all, he went to college, Providence College, played basketball, and then after his college career, went on to coach at Georgetown, and then coached the U.S. basketball Olympic team, and then went on to be an athletic director at St. Peter's. Just very cool reflection on a career in sports. Another common theme that I took away, and I think all of my previous episodes, the importance of work ethic came up. So Bill, at one point, I think he said he was never without a job. You know, from the time he had his first job until the day he retired, he was just never without a job. And even in retirement, he's done a lot of volunteer work. I know for me, having a purpose is super critical. And the busier I am, whether it's my day job, my job as a dad, or my job as a husband, or just things around the house, I know work is good for me. It's good for my mental space. So that's a common theme that's come up throughout the podcast, which I just wanted to reiterate. Another thing that I think stood out with Bill was the importance of friendship. And he talked about some lifelong friendships that he had with fellow players while he was in college playing, which then led on to job opportunities. And it's just interesting kind of how he forged his friendships through experience with other people. I can't iterate the importance of friendship to me. I'm very fortunate. I feel very blessed, very fortunate to have lots of friends at all different levels, by the way. I have lifelong friends that we've just forged friendships based on the shared experiences we have. I've got newer friends, people that I've met through the gym or through work that I just value our time together. And I think if you want really great friends, you've got to be a good friend. And that means different things at different times to different people. It's clearly a big part of Bill's life. And again, personally, it's something that I feel incredibly grateful to have in my life. One of the things that Bill talked about, which I think is super foundational to having any meaningful friendships, is loyalty. It was clear that he had a deep sense of loyalty. His spouse is, he's been married for many, many years and has children and grandchildren, and just a deep sense of loyalty to his spouse. But professionally, had this deep loyalty to his friend, mentor, and ultimately boss, John Thompson, who brought him to Georgetown, brought him to the Olympics. He was just a very loyal friend. And as a result, that led him to a lifelong friendship and meaningful careers and valuable work. I think it's just an incredible lesson that everybody could take away from, right? If you want to have good friends, be a good friend, be a loyal friend. That's something that we all need to remember and continue to work on. Something that, and I don't know whether anybody else will find this to be a big thing or not, but for me, it was important because personally, I struggle with this sometimes. Bill said something to the effect of know your place. And I'll go back to the coaching for a minute. He was the assistant coach at Georgetown and the assistant coach of the Olympic team. He knew when the head coach, when John was in front of the team, giving instructions, giving direction, he wouldn't overstep his boundaries, right? He agree. He knew who the leader was. To me, sounds very much like military, right? Command and control, kind of respect the chain. And then if something needed to be said, he would do something in private, right? Whether it was up in the office or the locker room or something afterwards. I think that's a good lesson. And I sometimes struggle with just shutting up. Like, close your mouth. You don't have to. Does this need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said now? And sometimes I have a tough time with that filter. I have a tough time like shutting up and just not speaking what's on my mind. Looking at somebody who I admire in his early 80s, it's probably something that I need to take into my meditation and contemplation and see if there's opportunities for me to do more of that in my life. And something kind of along that line was share your opinion only when you're asked. And that is something that I need to, again, digest and try to incorporate into my life more frequently. I know I am a very opinionated person, and I struggle sometimes with like this, I don't know, God complex, where I know what's right for everybody in every situation. And if you would just do as I tell you to do, you'd have a successful, happy life, yada, yada. But not everybody wants my opinion. It's probably not my job to share it unless somebody wants it, right? If somebody wants my take on something, please ask. But if not, I need to do a better job of just shutting up, maybe being a better listener, letting these people, whether it's friends or colleagues or family, let them know that, hey, I am here, I am available, I love you. And if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to do it. But if that doesn't come up, maybe I should MYOB, little mind your own business. So that, that's something Bill shared a couple of different times during the conversation. And some of it was online during the podcast, and some of it was just over coffee afterwards. We had some good follow-up conversations after we had some of the official stuff there. Those are some of my reflections on my conversation with Bill Stein. If you haven't listened to that, please go back to episode 7 and check out his journey, because I certainly think it was an interesting one. I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to sit down with him and have those conversations. I am also excited about what's to come on the Preserving Wisdom podcast. I've been texting with a number of friends and friends of friends, trying to line up some additional conversations. And I think for the rest of this year, I've got a number of people that are willing and interested. So more to come. Thank you for listening this far. Hopefully you feel like you can take away some of these tips from Bill's experiences in Bill's life. Thanks for listening to Preserving Wisdom podcast. That is it until next time.